The galaxy abandoned the filthy ancient dragon until a human farmer gave her a bath in sea. Beginning. Forgotten shadows of the galaxy. There was a time when the name Cyrillith, Eternal Flame, made entire galaxies tremble. She was the ancient dragon who had once burned through star fleets, melted asteroid fortresses, and ruled over empires like a storm of living fire. Her wings eclipsed suns, her breath reshaped planets, and her scales glittered brighter than diamond lattices suspended in the void. But empires rose and empires fell. Her legend endured long after the wars ended, until the galaxy finally moved on without her. That was 10,000 years ago. Now Cyrillith was a shadow of herself, drifting in the ruined orbit of sea, a backwater world the interstellar charts rarely even marked anymore. The dragon's once radiant scales were caked in black grime, centuries of space dust, toxic tar from collapsing mining colonies, and the remnants of chemical warfare long forgotten. Her fire dimmed, her breath a choking cough. She no longer soared but curled around the cracked surface of Sea's third moon, wheezing in silence. The galaxy had abandoned her, not because she was defeated, but because she was too filthy, too ancient, too inconvenient to remember. To the galaxy's thriving civilizations, Cyrillith was an embarrassment, a relic of a brutal past. And so she rotted alone until the world of Sea's gravity pulled her down. She fell like a star, carving scars into farmlands and mountain ridges, where no one dared to go near. No one except a single man. His name was Kalen Barrow, a farmer of Sea's rich volcanic soil. Unlike the glittering core worlds, Sea was poor, humble, and ignored. Its people grew crops for their own mouths, not for trade across the galaxy. Kalen lived alone, plowing his ash-rich fields, coaxing life from the black earth. He knew nothing of galactic legends, nothing of Cyrillith's name. All he knew was that something vast and filthy had crashed near his farm, and its groans rattled his bones in the night, against the warnings of his neighbors, who whispered that the ancient shadow was cursed. Kalen took a lantern, a shovel, and his stubborn heart into the canyon where she had fallen. There he found her, a mountain of filth and broken scales, her wings torn, her claws buried in muck. She stank of centuries-old rot, as though 1,000 shipwrecks clung to her body. And yet, her golden eye cracked open, glowing dimly like the last ember of a dying fire. "Leave me," Cyrillith rasped, her voice like stones grinding together. "The galaxy already has." Kalen squinted up at her massive head, unimpressed. "Well, I'm not the galaxy. I'm just a farmer. And you great beast look like you need a bath." The dragon blinked. For the first time in millennia, Cyrillith laughed, a weak, broken laugh, but a laugh nonetheless. Middle, the farmer and the dragon. Kalen had little more than his stubbornness, a set of water channels carved from the mountains and the steaming volcanic springs of Sea. But he had decided, if this beast was to die, she wouldn't die covered in filth. It began clumsily. With ropes that looked like threads against her colossal body, he guided streams of hot spring water through trenches, letting it cascade over her wings. The water hissed against her filthy scales, peeling away centuries of grime. Cyrillith growled when it stung, but Kalen only muttered, "Don't fuss. You're tougher than a pig in a mud bath." Day after day, he worked. He brought brushes, at first made for livestock, then ones he crafted from volcanic reeds bound with iron. He scraped at the barnacle-like crust clinging to her hide, breaking them off with the patience of man who had once cleared entire fields of volcanic stone. Cyrillith would snarl, her pride wounded by the indignity. But she endured. Each day, more of her scales shone faintly, shards of starfire trapped beneath centuries of soot. And Cyrillith began to speak. As Kalen cleaned, she told him stories, at first bitter ones, of how she had once been feared, how fleets fled at her shadow, how she had demanded tributes of gold and plasma crystals from kings who dared whisper rebellion. But as the days turned into weeks, her voice softened. She spoke of loneliness, of drifting for ages with no one to hear her songs, of the crushing silence of being left behind by a galaxy that forgot its monsters. Kalen listened, though he did not pretend to understand wars and empires. To him, she was just Cyrillith, The filthy old dragon who grumbled when he tugged too hard a scale, who tried and failed to puff smoke rings at the sunrise, and who sometimes hummed low, sorrowful notes that made his crops sway like they understood. One evening, when he had finally cleared her chest enough for the scales beneath to glow with a warm, living gold, Cyrillith lowered her head to the farm and whispered, "Why do you do this, farmer? You could leave me to rot. The galaxy did. Even I wish to rot." Kalen sat on her jaw as though it were a porch bench, wiping sweat from his brow. Because no one, beast or human, should be left so filthy they forget what they look like underneath. Soil belongs on crops, not on you. The dragon closed her eye, a tear steaming down her cheek. She had not wept in millennia. Transformation, the bath in sea. At last, the day came when Kalen declared, "You're ready for proper bath." He had prepared the volcanic springs, sea-sacred waters that bubble with minerals from deep within the planet. The water there shimmered with strange energies, known among the villagers to heal wounds and cleanse poisons. Legends whispered it had been seeded by ancient terraforming machines, now long lost. Guiding Cyrillith was no easy feat, but the dragon, though prideful, followed. She crawled, shaking the earth with each step, until she lowered herself into the massive basin Kalen had carved wider with months of labor. The springs boiled around her, steam rising like the breath of a newborn star. The filth sloughed from her body in waves, floating to the surface before dissolving into ash. Kalen waded into the steaming water with his brushes, scrubbing tirelessly at her wings, her claws, her massive tail. Cyrillith rumbled, half in annoyance, half in pleasure. For hours they worked, until at last her body gleamed, not just clean, but radiant. Her scales reflected starlight, her wings unfurled like molten banners, and her fire returned to her throat in a roar that cracked the heavens. The villagers of sea came running. For the first time in living memory, they beheld the ancient flame in her glory. They fell to their knees, some in awe, some in terror. Cyrillith's golden gaze swept over them. But instead of rage, she bowed her colossal head. "This farmer," she thundered, "has given me back what the galaxy stole myself." News spread. Across forgotten channels of trade, through smugglers' whispers and miners' songs, the tale grew. The filthy ancient dragon of legend had been reborn on sea, not through war or conquest, but because a humble farmer bathed her in volcanic springs. Ending a new legend, the galaxy took notice. Fleets came, not with weapons, but with trembling ambassadors offering treaties and gifts. They wanted the dragon's allegiance, her power, her name tied once more to their banners. Cyrillith listened, but her eyes always returned to Kalen, who still plowed his fields, unimpressed by the grand displays. When one arrogant admiral sneered that a dragon should not bow to a farmer, Cyrillith's jaws snapped, scattering the fleet like frightened birds. "The galaxy abandoned me," she roared. This farmer did not. From then on, she made her lair not in forgotten moons, but beside Kalen's farm. She scorched pests from his field with gentle breaths of fire, brought rain clouds with the beating of her wings, and sang ancient songs that made crops grow tall. The people of sea prospered as no other world had in centuries. And as for Cyrillith and Kalen, though she remained a dragon vast and terrible, and he a man with dirt on his hands, they became inseparable companions. She called him her cleanser scales, her keeper of dignity. He called her the old lizard, which made her snort smoke in mock outrage. One night, as they sat beneath a sky full of stars, Cyrillith whispered, "Do you know what I've learned, farmer? Power does not lie in fear or in conquest. It lies in the one who will touch the filth no one else dares, and still see what shines beneath." Kalen chuckled, tossing a pebble into the pond. "And I've learned dragons make terrible neighbors. You snore loud enough to shake my roof." The dragon laughed, her voice like a sunrise after endless night. Thus was born a new legend, not of terror, not of abandonment, but of a filthy ancient dragon and the farmer who gave her a bath in sea. A legend that spread across the galaxy, reminding empires and peasants alike that sometimes the greatest power lies not in fleets or fire, but in kindness stubborn enough to scrub away the dirt ages.